Caitlin Clark got a little get back at Kelsey Plum.
She was taking a shot.
Could not help but to drag Caitlin Clark through the glass as she did it.
0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
The WNBA is on a hot streak. They're finally turning.
The WNBA universe shifted on its axis. Somewhere right now, Kelsey Plum is reeling, stomach churning, because Caitlin Clark just struck, and not with emotion, but with the kind of ruthless precision that leaves legends speechless. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't even competition. It was a masterclass in dominance, a cold, calculated plan to expose anyone foolish enough to challenge your legacy. Make no mistake, Plum didn't just lose tonight, she was completely obliterated. Before we dive into every shocking detail of this dismantling, smash that like button if you're standing with Clark, because after seeing what really went down, there's no way you'll still be rooting for Plum.
Sore losers and you have sore winners, and Kelsey Plum is both.
We want to blow them out. We're a lot better than them.
We're watching for the league. We're really watching for Caitlin Clark. Everyone's going to be making more because of Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is the one bringing in the numbers.
Well, there's one.
Let's go back to where it all exploded. This wasn't some random clash, it was a storm brewing in silence, fueled by envy, quiet sabotage, and one player's desperate attempt to dim the brilliance of the WNBA's brightest star. It all ignited at the All-Star Game, an event meant to celebrate unity, skill, and the pinnacle of women's basketball. But instead, it twisted into one of the most tense, jealousy-laden moments the league has ever witnessed. At that time, players were united under the "pay us what you deserve" movement, demanding long overdue respect and compensation. And make no mistake, that fight was righteous. But this is where Kelsey Plum made a move that could go down as the most reckless decision of her career. In front of flashing cameras and the entire basketball world watching, she delivered a veiled, strategic strike at Caitlin Clark, careful to never speak her name, but sharp enough to leave its mark.
But 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
Or her actually making comments about Caitlin Clark's team not being at this meeting for the CBA.
Plum delivered a line so carefully scripted it could have been rehearsed in a boardroom, claiming that none of Clark's teammates were truly involved. It was a pointed jab at the league's pay negotiations and player activism, sharp enough to sting, but cloaked in politeness. The audacity was staggering. She targeted the very athlete who has single-handedly transformed the WNBA, generating more hype, revenue, and attention than anyone in its 28-year history, and tried to paint her as selfish, aloof, and out of touch. The move was so blatant, so meticulously calculated, that even casual fans could see the maneuver for what it was. And yet, the reality made it even more absurd. Clark wasn't even at the All-Star Game. She was at home, recovering, dealing with her own life, completely removed from the drama. She had no obligation to perform for the cameras, no reason to stage herself for applause, and yet Plum attempted to weaponize her absence. Meanwhile, the fans were already erupting over Clark's undeniable dominance, silently proving who the real powerhouse of the league had become.
Shot at Caitlin Clark during that whole thing about Team Clark wasn't very present for that.
To me, I thought that was a little dig at Caitlin. A lot of people definitely thought so.
Plum, she was taking a shot at Caitlin Clark's situation. Involving the "pay us what you owe."
Caitlin Clark hasn't just played basketball. She's rewritten the entire WNBA playbook. She's drawn millions of new fans, lifted the league's profile to staggering heights, and transformed its finances in ways no one thought possible. And yet, Plum had the nerve to question her commitment. The disrespect was audacious, but what happened next was almost cinematic in its justice. The backlash was instantaneous and merciless. Look at Sabrina Ionescu's expression during that press conference, every flicker of discomfort telling the story of what Plum had unleashed. Even analyst Stacey King didn't mince words, calling out how reckless it was to attack the league's crown jewel. And he was right, the numbers don't lie. Since Clark's arrival, TV ratings have skyrocketed, merchandise is vanishing from shelves, ticket prices are surging, and expansion fees have exploded from $50 million to $250 million almost overnight. She's not just a star, she's the league's ultimate bargaining weapon, and Plum chose to go head-to-head with the WNBA's most invaluable asset. This is where Clark proved she's more than a leader on the court. She's a strategist, a tactician, and a force no one dares underestimate.
To say that Caitlin Clark didn't join in on the t-shirt discussion.
This week they wore t-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark. Here she is.
The t-shirt, just united front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark We're very present.
Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a master strategist operating on a plane most can't even perceive. While the world scrambles on checkers, she's playing chess. Instead of snapping back with clumsy statements or diving into a social media feud, Clark made the ultimate power move. She said nothing. She let silence become her weapon, letting the storm swirl around her as she quietly built momentum. And when the moment to strike arrived, it hit with the force of a wrecking ball. Shortly after the controversy, Clark unveiled a monumental global deal with Nike, proving once again that top brands will bend over backward for her association. While Plum was obsessing over tearing her down, Clark was quietly expanding an empire. The knockout punch came when Clark spotted Plum posting from a Nike event, despite being signed with Under Armour, Nike's rival. That's when Clark delivered a perfectly timed, razor-sharp comment that set the internet ablaze. Thanks for the free ad. In an instant, Clark's influence was undeniable, pulling in seven-figure endorsements while the critics scrambled to keep up. Clark isn't just the future of the WNBA. She's the driving force behind the league finally earning respect, attention, and financial backing it's long deserved. Plum, once bold enough to challenge her, fell silent, realizing she'd stepped into a game far beyond her reach. The same player who tried to frame Clark as disconnected ended up completely outclassed by someone whose power speaks louder than words. Her reach is colossal. A single subtle remark becomes headline news, while Plum's attempts to remain relevant barely ripple the waters. But this isn't just a personal feud, it's a microcosm of a larger struggle. Some veterans have tried to control, limit, and resist Clark's meteoric rise, and spectacularly failed. Before Clark, the league battled empty arenas, low ratings, sparse media coverage, and paltry expansion fees. Today, thanks to her, everything has changed. TV ratings have skyrocketed, jerseys fly off shelves, ticket prices soar, media deals explode, and expansion fees have hit historic highs. Clark's success isn't a threat, it's a rising tide that lifts everyone. Higher viewership equals higher pay, better resources, and real leverage for the league. She is the catalyst long fought against and now impossible to stop. Through it all, Clark proves she's more than a superstar. She's a leader who commands power, understands timing, and plays the long game. She doesn't chase drama, she transforms it into momentum. Fans see it, numbers prove it, and history is unfolding before our eyes.